$4,000. Year to date, operating revenue of $114 million was higher than budget by $4,662,000. Operating expenses of $91,557,000 was lower than budget by $2,654,000. Net income for the year for the first 10 months of $22,411,000 was higher than budget by $6,320,000. Here you can see in October, virtually every category outside of concession revenue was up for the month of October. Looking at automobile revenue up 24.7%, the parking revenue up 48%, passenger revenue up 21.6%. And as stated earlier, the total operating revenue for the month was up $1,749,000 or 19.3%. Year to date, as mentioned earlier, our total operating revenue is up to $4,661,000 or 4.3%. Here's a chart showing the difference where all the operating revenue comes from as a percentage of overall revenue. Yes, yeah.
Go back one slide. The $1 million significant chunk of that described.
That was the realization of the grant revenue that we mentioned last month. So the operating expenses, as mentioned earlier, for the month we're down aggregate $1,670,000, 15.3%. Both categories are down for the month, and the main category is maintenance expenses. Couple of big drivers there is realization of expenses associated with MD Marcus Vineyard. We have $365,000 expenses that were realized in November that wasn't budgeted, as well as the timing of work and Oak Bluffs and transfer prices. So those expenses were realized in November and December. So year to date, total operating expenses are down $2.6 million at 2.8%, and we expect that number to get closer to the year end for some of the projects that expect to realize in November and December. Here's a chart of where the operating expenses are. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions during the October business summit. This will be in lieu of the treasury report. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, so next on the agenda is an update on the Woods Hole Terminal project. Before Bill presents his slideshow, just want to point out, since the board last met, and Sport Council last met, J. Cashman Inc. has continued, Waterside crew continued to prepare the South Head Dolphin for the fender to be hung from it. To do so, Cashman's crew worked on removing the upper whale on the south on that dolphin. Cashman's crew meanwhile prepared barge for drilling at monopile number 31. They welded 36-inch piles that will be drilled inside monopile 31. First week of December, Cashman moved the barge to 31 and put that into the top of the pile. The guy with 36-inch piles that are going to be used to drill. And then last week, Cashman's crew set up the first leg of the 36-inch pipe that's going to be used for drilling. They were able to drill to minus 40 feet. They then spliced the second piece of 36-inch pipe to it, and then drilled to the design, drilled to the design depth of minus 85 feet. Masons finished sealing the pavers on the south pier. The waterproofing contract is sealed, file caps under the pier. And the glass contractor completes the installation of the glass windscreen on the south passenger pier. And thus far, we've sent out 177 community email updates on the project. So with that, I'll turn it over to Bill.
Good morning. Bob says, we're pretty much essentially done with the contract work.
Bill, if you don't mind.
We're essentially done with the contract work. It's all change order work for, supporting the piles that we couldn't get to design depth or didn't get installed at. The first picture you see there is, the South Head Dolphin on the back side of it. Since we completely just need to end next. Sure. This is some of the equipment that is being used to drill the piles. And there's actually 4 compressors, large compressors used to drive the pipe and drill it into the ground. Next. This is some of the pipe, the 36-inch pipes that we are drilling inside the monopile 31. Next. This is South Head Dolphin where the fender is going to hang. Next. This is just a picture of the body. Next. This is the fender, that's the South Head Dolphin where the fender is going to hang. Next. They're setting up the equipment on monopile 31.
That one, you can see the template that they added to the top of the monopile on the bottom left corner of the picture. Where they,
Go ahead, Sean. Okay, thus far, the original contract was 14.1 million. Change order is up to 14.5 million. Over
We have provisions for future electric charging stations in terms of space or hookup.
all 3 slips for 280 and it wouldn't be a big leap to get a charging station or 460 power, 460 volt power station at the slips.
And that's adequate, I don't know.
Yeah, that's usually the top of the line.
Gotcha.
Right.
so I think in terms of that, we do have the alternative power study that's ongoing as we speak, and obviously the shoreside infrastructure portion of that, is still yet to be determined. So I think once we get that report, we see what they're projecting in terms of power needs. And a lot of it's going to be dependent upon, it'd be battery size and things like that in terms of how often we need to be charging and things like that. So
That's great. A lot of people have asked about that.
yeah, there's still a lot. It's a work in progress.
Sure.
And we are working on that.
Yes.
We're close to the end here. We're asking her, the contract was done, okay, so there's a $672,000 in line item cost estimates that are not going to get funded. And finalized the last change order for this one about 24. And that the place, Pine Farm, approved the reinforced containment connected to files at one about 24 for reinforcement. We're really close. It's not going to be too much higher.
All right. So the next item is receipt of a letter from the Office of Public Safety and Inspections. On December 7th, the District State Inspector sent a letter to the authority advising us that the inspector was denying the authority's, quote, continued use of the temporary terminal building in Woods Hole. The inspector further advised the authority at 45 days from that date of that letter to apply for a hearing to appeal that decision. So by way of background, in the early stages of the Woods Hole Terminal reconstruction project, during that planning, a suitable temporary facility was identified to house the ticketing and restrooms during construction. In June 2016, the district state inspector issued a decision that the Woods Hole temporary terminal building did not meet state building code requirements for flood resistance. As the project design elevation is 9.5 feet, and it's significant, quote, significantly lower, end quote, than the required AE 13 flood zone elevation of 13 feet. The inspector also noted that the temporary terminal building did not meet the requirements for protections of openings under the International Building Code. Later in June 2016, the authority filed an appeal of the inspector's decision with the appeals board, and they had a meeting in July of 2016. At the hearing, authorities representatives provided testimony related documents to that. And in August of 2016, a three-person panel from the appeals board issued a decision that the authorities appeal, in favor of the authorities appeal, that we were entitled to a variance for the construction of the temporary terminal building. The variance anticipated that the temporary facility would be needed for approximately 4 years. An occupancy permit was issued once the building was put in place in September of 2017, and then in December of 2017, we started to use that facility. As a reminder, in November of 2019, the members unanimously approved the schematic design phase services for a new one-story terminal building and a new two-story utility building at the Woods Hole Terminal site. Since that approval, BIA Studios has moved the project from schematic design to design development, and anticipated that we'll have the 90% design development public session latter part of December, but most likely in January. Staff is recommending that the members authorize the general manager to file an appeal with the state building code appeals board, seeking a variance to such provisions in the state building code related to the continued use of the temporary terminal building, until which point a new terminal building is constructed and occupied. So informal discussions with the state building inspector has indicated that as long as we have a design and plan and we're moving ahead with the project, that they'll support the variance. Of course, that's verbal, we don't have any. But we'd like the consideration of the board to authorize me to go ahead and file an appeal.
Do we have a motion in support?
So moved.
Any discussion or questions?
Yeah, I think it's important for people to realize that there's a large number of folks, our neighbors, who feel that
for a vote then? All in favor?
Aye.
We'll have it.
All right, carries.
You don't need anything from us on, I mean.
No, work on something.
You want to vote from us? too?
If you'd like, that'd be great, if, you know, if we get the support of both bodies.
Any
Make a
on the
motion
council
for-
side?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next item that we have on the agenda is for the, MD Sankey Dry Dock update. I'll ask Mark to come up and give a slideshow, status report.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Could you step forward, please? Could you take a couple of steps forward so we can see you? Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. An update on Sankey is she is in dry dock at Main Shipyard in London. She's been on dock this Wednesday and come back for delivery on the 21st of December. This picture here is obviously a picture of the bow area. For last undercoat of antifouling. Action. It's a picture of the stern frame again. You'll see multiple coatings in there. Next. Putting in a new fuel oil purifier installation. And we're doing some deck renewals, and as a result of our engagement survey, we identified some areas that require some structural steel renewal. And that's what's undergoing in that picture. The highlight of the dock is we're putting in a new fire detection system. This will be in the event of unlikely event of fire, we have protection. People sleep in water. Plastic coating structure and water areas. Overhaul of the bow thruster and overhaul of shafts and rudders. So the snapshot is we have the contract was $821,000. We have 177,000 in credits, and the grand total for the dry dock period is 862,000. We're pretty close to budget on this, and also delivery of time. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Just since Mark is up here, I'd just like to point out that back on November 27th, we did have an issue over in Indian Haven. So, you know, Mark, his group has been looking into this, and while he's standing here, whether the board would like to give an update as to what occurred.
I think, first of all, I think just to give a technical representation on it, we have two cables which attach to from the bridge to the bow area of all of our vessels. And the purpose of these cables is to position the bridge onto the vessel, and then we lower the bridge down. They're not, the function of it is not to secure the vessel to the bridge. What happened was there was a line of hawser, or one of our lines that should have been a little bit tighter, but anyways, so we had the wake of the containment coming in, kind of forced it off a bit, and it went to a taut position, but it slightly separated the bridge from the vessel itself. So the crew did a proper response, they shut down the operations, got the power off, repositioned the bridge, but this cable, which was severed the night before, has nothing to do with the operation of the bridge while we're in cargo operations. Now, we did a thorough review, and we've come up with, we're going to have to add another bollard to get a better fear lead off the bow area, and this will help in the future of being more secure to the area, to the vessel. So this is, yes, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you. This is clearly caused a lot of concern.
A little louder, please.
I can really go loud. You don't want to do that. This has caused a lot of concern on the island, and many of us were under the misapprehension, apparently, that the cables from the bridge coming in, we're actually securing the vessel to the transfer bridge. But you're telling me they're not.
They're not, that's not the function. The function is to position the bridge until we lower it down onto the vessel. They serve no function after that.
Okay, so it's the line
The
itself.
lines themselves,
And in this case, the line was not as taut as it might have been,
that's correct.
as opposed to the purchase.
That's correct. And also the angle, we're gonna add another bollard to help fair lead that line to keep it even in a more taut position.
How far away, what was the gap? Actually,
I have not seen, I wasn't able to pick that up myself, but it was, my understanding was less than approximately a foot.
what my understanding was too.
Still
That's what my
discussion.
understanding was too, but I wondered if we knew.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Mark, just to build on what Mr. Malcolm was saying, so at no point was there any danger of a vehicle going into the water?
No, sir.
There was a foot.
Right. I just wanted to hear from Mark.
This is an abnormal situation. It doesn't happen very often, if at all. But I just wanted everyone to be clear that that cable is, the function of that cable is not to hold the vessel to the bridge.
So the lines hold the vessel. Did they put that in reverse or anything, or forward, to keep the boat close to the?
Yeah, when we're in cargo operations, the first thing that we can do is secure the vessel to the bollard using the soft lines. And then we put the bridge down.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for.
Of course.
Okay, so the next item is, this is an update on the recent accomplishments of the Woods Hole Noise and Traffic Mitigation Working Group. Along those lines, just some of the things that have been done that have come out of that group. They provided support to the town for the installation of electronic speed feedback signs on Woods Hole Road. They suggested the expansion of reservation-only days on the Martha's Vineyard Road. They've numerous suggestions on how to improve our standby operations. And those suggestions have included investigating what the authority can have off-site staging for standby cars, investigating how the new website can better communicate to the status of the terminal standby line, and when it's open and when it's closed, whether the new website communicate with an app to provide real-time status, reviewing the steamship authority standby operations at the other terminals, just to see if there's anything that can be learned from those operations that can be applied to the Woods Hole terminal. Investigating how we can better, again, notify our customers ahead of time. And also investigating the possibility of putting some webcams so that way the terminal agents can see, up at the top of the hill where what's going on. They've also been updated in terms of made suggestions regarding how to improve. We're looking at the check-in process for trucks. Also to update, we've been updated as the steamship authorities has ordering for those electric buses, which hopefully will be quieter. They've also had numerous discussions regarding the drivers that cross into the opposite lane on Crane Street in Calgary, as they come in, and how we best can avoid that. And we continue to receive some of the things that we previously have done to set up a email address that was whole traffic at steamshipauthority.com, and which anyone that has an issue with any of the traffic that occurs there can notify us, and we'll look into any issues. So, Allison Fletcher is here. Allison is along with Steve Sayers is the staff members that attend those meetings. So I don't know whether Allison has anything she'd like to add.
Yeah, just real quick. Good morning, everyone.
Could you step forward, please?
Very awful.
Thank you. That's good.
I feel like I'm on Hollywood Squares. I just wanted to clarify something that I stated during the November 30th meeting for the Woods Hole and Falmouth Traffic and Noise Mitigation Working Group. I stated that on November 7th, 2021, that the police were called regarding a traffic backup at the Woods Hole Terminal due to a mechanical issue with one of our vessels. After reading the notes from the turnover more closely, I came to understand that neither the Falmouth Police nor the state police were called. However, it was actually a request for a police detail on Sunday nights. The reason for this error was due to reading our internal notes from that day as I was speaking at the meeting. I should not have made that statement without a more thorough review of what occurred. I wish to apologize for my error. Any other questions on the working group?
I guess this is a general question and sort of follows. This is a general question and it kind of follows on from Mr. Jones' comments over several meetings about the role of the working group. Having listened into the working group, I think they've done good work, certainly good communication between the communities that are affected. There've been, between the notes that Mr. Sears had, that Mr. Davis had, that you've had, I've got about 10 pages of things that have been done to address issues or that are currently in the works to address issues that have been raised. And I'm wondering what the future role is envisioned to be for this working group going forward. Yes, I have Bob or any member of the group. Because frankly, what I'm getting from the fellow who worked with the Martha's Vineyard Commission, who's a traffic engineer, and a member of the public who was former selectman of Gloves. What I'm hearing is they're attending these meetings, and the more recent meetings have been incident reports rather than items to work upon. So my question is, where is this going?
So, so as it stands now, along the lines of the task force that's been meeting as well, not as frequently as the working the noise and traffic group has been. I think at this point, there's been numerous, and there were almost a monthly meeting, and I think, you know, the state issues are coming about, trying to work on those. I think the goal would be to just be able to spread these avenues that the members to contact staff and update them as terms of projects, so that way you can keep the lines of communication going, that we continue to do what we can in terms of identifying areas in which we can improve in terms of the traffic, you know, eliminating as much traffic as we can around the terminal. So I think, you know, it's been helpful. I think some of the suggestions that they've come up with, improving the operations, and at this point, the one that just you know, mentioned, those are the ones that just within the past year, the last 6 months. So I mean, it's a dynamic body, shall we say, that in terms of the discussion, but there is some things that we can glean from the discussions and in terms of helping to improve.
I've watched most of the meetings, and I do think we are, you know, making progress, and I think it's worthwhile. But the one thing that we can't control is, I don't think that the town of Falmouth has taken ownership of their own problems, meaning bridges and meaning garbage trucks and noise and stuff like that on the road. And it seems like everything, you know, goes back to the steamship authority as the cause of all the problems. And we can only, you know, take care of our own problems. And that's, you know, how you get that point across, I don't know. But I do know that, you know, I think there's been progress along the lines. We know of all the things that have been done. And to have the read an article in the Martha's Vineyard Times noting some of the stuff that we have accomplished, the authority. I think that's a step, a huge step, because the papers always haven't been kind to us. So that means you're gonna be doing something right. But I do think you need to emphasize to those on the other side of the pond here, that they too, have a whole, area of their own in Woods Hole, and the traffic coming down to it, and their own traffic. So it's a big problem. We'll never solve it 100%, but you just have to keep working on it. So I wish you luck. I would not want to serve on that board.
I think it's been a valuable process, and I, as a board member, have benefited from hearing the discussion back and forth. And sometimes it's disagreement, but I have found that it's been really helpful in terms of understanding the issues, both from the vineyard side and also clarifying what Falmouth as a town can do to step up and meet some of these issues head on. So I would say all in all, it's usually good to have a line of communication, and certainly to have it already there and people feel comfortable with it. When something sticky comes up, you already have that format and the forum to review the stuff, review what's going on. Does that help? Does it cover what you wanted to go over?
No, I appreciate that. I think it has been very valuable. And I think setting up a website where people can raise issues, and having an email address where people can raise issues, and dealing with truck noise, and dealing with the truckers, and providing guidance to them and enforcement, which we've done on the seamstress property, and all that's been helpful. And it's come out of this group. What I've heard lately is a lot of sort of anecdotal stuff which could be addressed through the website, or directly calling Allison, or directly reaching out by email, rather than calling this working group. Vineyard Haven, in peak time in the summer, we have up to 5, sometimes 6 traffic officers. In Oak Bluffs, we have 3 to 4 traffic officers. Traffic deployed down in Nantucket, traffic officers, and that's how you deal with traffic.
Yeah.
So it becomes enforcement, which is not, to me, the role. It's-
Yeah, of course. Well, it's really helpful to know how other people, handle the
Move traffic.
situations. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
And if there are issues on the vineyard that, because the town, poor communities are so interrelated. We've got the water in between us, but what's happening over there impacts what's happening over here, and vice versa. So perhaps there ought to be some expansion to the discussion, and not just the Woods Hole area, but also the Haven and Oak Bluffs traffic issues.
The people now are very happy to tell you, as they can tell John and myself, the issues that they have with the seamstress authority.
Yeah.
Good job.
Good. But for Falmouth to understand that could be important.
All right. So next, and Madam Chair, I don't know how you'd like to handle this. So we got the license carrier renewals. Starting with the Hyannis Harbor Tour, so I don't know whether you'd like to have the provide an update, and then we'll have the Port Council.
Yeah, so ordinarily you'd be reviewing with Port Council, so we ought to go ahead and do that, I would say.
So the first one here is for Hyannis Harbor Tours, doing business as Highline. I don't know whether Murray is on the Zoom. Some point whether you want to add anything to this, but so staff is requesting authorization to renew the authority's license agreement with Hyannis Harbor Tours Inc., known as Highline, allowing it to operate passenger transportation services between Hyannis and Nantucket, Hyannis and Martha's Vineyard, and between Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, so-called Inter Island service during the 2022, 2023, and 2024 operating seasons. So on October 29th, the authority received a written request from Highline for a 3-year license renewal to carry passengers for hire on its high-speed ferry between Hyannis and Vineyard and Rhode Island. A review of the 2022 operating schedule, request reveals that is not proposing any changes to the previously approved operating schedules. And in light of this information, staff is recommending that the amended vote to authorize the general manager to execute a 3-year renewal of its license agreement with Hyannis Harbor Tours, which will allow to operate passenger transportation services between Hyannis and Nantucket, between Hyannis and Martha's Vineyard, and between Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket during the 2022, 2023, and 2024 operating season. The staff further recommends that the members vote to authorize the general manager to take all necessary and appropriate actions to carry out that license agreement and fulfill out the authority's obligations.
So is Port Council going to review this first?
You want to do that first?
Yeah.
Sure.
Make
Ryan,
a
we'll move.
make a motion to approve the next 3-year contract with Island, or not contract, approval. Second.
Any discussion?
Sure, no.
that the last time they did it was 1 year and now it's 3 years.
Yeah, so the 1-year renewal was because we're deep in COVID and not knowing what was going on.
Yeah.
I think we
previously-
all over 1 year.
And we didn't know if we were gonna be triple approved, double approved, Joe, it was like, we didn't even come back on until I think June 16th, 2020, was it? 16? Whatever it was.
So we've done a combination of licenses over the years, whether it be 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years licenses. But that was the rationale behind last year's, is just because of not knowing where travel demands were going to be in the year. But at this point, their operations, much like ours, have returned to some normalcy, not quite pre-COVID normalcy, but some normalcy.
But all the previous ones were at least were 2 or 3 years.
There were
right?
more than 1 year that year.
John's.
Yeah, but
Which Murray?
if you want to give any comments.
Are you there?
Hello? Can you hear me at the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, the audio has been kind of dicey, so it's, no, I have nothing further to add to the license request, and any that already has not been discussed. Was there a
Thank you, Murray.
Any other discussion? Bob?
No, I was just curious if you could sort of summarize the fees and how these compare with the other ones. Recommend change. To what extent you could look at this in 3 years? It's still a good deal.
Yeah, so in terms of this, we're not proposing any changes to the fees. Situation with Highline is different to these other license requests, in that they were one of the original grandfathered services. Granted, at this point, they don't run those services. It's the traditional ferry, no more than 520 passengers or something like that. Traditional services. They've gone away from that model, and they've gone to just a high-speed model. So in kind of the license fees reflect that in terms of how they've been established over the years. I think the formula that we're currently using, I believe, used that starting in 2016 was when we went to the current formula. And, I think The way it's set up is that if they take more, if they carry more passengers, the percentages go up. You know, but, again, with them offering, two high speeds to each island, the frequency of their service is such that, it does generate more opportunities for people to be able to service, whether it's island residents or whether it's visitors alike through it. So. I hope with that, hopefully you see the question.
Any other discussion? Do I have a vote? So there's a motion to approve.
Yes.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And so it comes to the board. Do we have a motion to accept this?
I'll second it.
Any discussion or questions?
Yeah, I just,
Mr. Jones?
yeah, I'm more than happy to approve it for 3 years. If you look back in the last, what, 4, 5, 6 years and whatever, there was a growth period of, we talked about fee structures, we talked about routes, we talked about, different vessels and things like that. It's just very calming and relaxing that there's no changes, and so I have no problem with going with 3 years. And I will say that we definitely work together when if our boats, if the fast ferry is down, we can send them right over to High Line. Sometimes people will take the bus, and they should have got off at High Line or the vice versa, and they will, they will transport the passenger. It's a good relationship, and it's a benefit to Hyannis. People, say they don't want all of these different, with the traffic and things like that. But we have it and benefit from it. I mean, we've got numerous companies and jobs and employment and everything else, and it's just not. I see in the minutes there that they said, well, Hyannis is a city and it's different from Woods Hole. No, it's not. We got residents all the way around the harbor, and we have the same traffic problems and things like that. We just have to live with it. The same as the folks over in the vineyard in Nantucket. That's part of life. So I'm more than happy to support this.
Question. When Bob, you and John and Joe we talked about Murray about expanding service passengers and the luggage.
Yeah, so I think the strength being much like our schedule, there's only certain times that they can do trips and like time of year. So I know that they have a robust luggage issue, just like we do with our high speed. So their constraints being the dock that they use in the bus. So.
So no more discussion. We have a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Motion carries.
So the next item, the staff is requesting authorization to renew the authority's license agreement with Freedom Cruise Line, doing business as Freedom Cruises, which operates a seasonal passenger ferry service between Howard Port and Nantucket, Freedom. November of 2021, Freedom submitted a request to renew its license agreement with the authority. The authority, much like what we do with Highline and others, we advertise renewal with local papers on our website. I should have pointed this out with the Highline that there was no public comment received in response to those advertisements. So Freedom has likewise asked for renewal of their agreement on a 3-year basis, same terms and conditions as the expiring license agreement. Pursuant to which that they operate one daily round trip commencing the Friday before Memorial Day through the last day of June, and then 3 daily round trips through Labor Day, and then again 1 daily trip through Columbus Day. So the staff's recommendations that is both authorized the federal manager to enter into a renewed license agreement with Freedom Cruise Line, aimed for a term of 3 years, and substantially the form attached to the staff summary.
All right, do I have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries.
And does the board, anyone have a motion? Second,
Second.
any discussion?
Just a trivia notation, that we attended about a month or so ago, the last trip of Captain Barry Fuller, who was a one-time general manager of the Steamship Authority, and he's been plying the waters in the Nantucket Sound for years. So anyways, I'm more than happy to support this.
Great.
Hi, Bob, I'm here if anyone has questions.
It's Jack Sheehan who runs the Freedom Cruise, in case there's any questions.
No questions.
Did I-
Thank you, Jack.
Please correct that these don't generate any embarkation fees, is that right?
So Howard Port is not included in the statute. Nantucket is, but they carry less than 100 they limit there to 99 passengers. So therefore, they're exempt from the embarkation fee from the originating from the island.
So we have the motion, we have the second, all in favor? Any opposed? No, carries.
All right. Next, the staff is requesting authorization to renew the authority's license agreement with Sea Street LLC, which operates seasonal passenger ferry service between New Bedford and Martha's Vineyard and between New Bedford and Nantucket. In November 2021, Sea Street submitted a request for renewal of its application, and like the other carriers, we included the local newspapers and posted on our website. We received no public comment. Sea Street has asked for a 3-year renewal of its license agreement. There are some proposed revisions to the service schedules, some slight revisions. So they're looking at during the Sea Street's early spring, which is mid-April through mid-June, and then the fall, early winter, September, January 1st. What they'd like to do is the ferry from New Bedford to Nantucket would stop at Oak Bluffs, will be needed depending on which facility is open, to drop off passengers, pick up passengers in between. We had a discussion with Jim Barker, who I don't know if he's on the Zoom or not, but regarding the inter-island service that Highline provides. And, we will want to be operating that inter-island service at the time that Highline is licensed to operate that service. I think in the past, they actually worked out there's been a couple of situations where each other has helped each other in that regard. But so by stopping off in Oak Bluffs or Vinny Haven and going on, it's some operational efficiencies that Sea Street encounters by not having that to run 2 boats, they're only running 1 boat doing that. So they also have asked to allow that they be allowed to operate the Commodore class vessel. They allow, which is their newest vessels. So it has a larger passenger capacity, so in case they find that there's more demand than what they previously been seeing, that they could substitute the larger vessel for it, so. And again, that depends upon what the demand and availability of the vessel would be. I think part of it is that they're using the Commodore class vessel to do the New Jersey to the island service. And instead of sending the boat back for the weekend, send it to Bedford and use that on the weekend. So it's the staff's recommendation that the members vote to authorize the general manager to enter into a new 3-year license agreement with C Street LLC for the 2022, 2023, and 2024 operating seasons. Staff further recommends that the members vote to authorize the general manager to take all necessary and appropriate actions to carry out its obligations under the license agreement.
All right, do I have a motion to approve? Any discussion on the port council side? Joe?
One more question. Are they going to be running in the winter up to January 1st?
Yeah, so, yeah, they're looking at that, but much like what they had proposed a year ago at the same time, it's all dependent upon demand, and they found that the demand just right at the congress stage just dropped off, and they didn't want it, but I think they just wanted to hedge their bets in case traffic was too soon. They previously did run year round to the vineyard, not to Nantucket, to the vineyard.
Any other discussion? It's great to see, I mean, it sounds like they worked out something with Byline to improve the inter-island kind of service too, in a way that works for everybody, so. All right, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries.
All right, do we have a motion from the board? Second discussion?
Well, you wouldn't happen to know offhand how big the Commodore class is.
Yeah, it's has seating, COI is up to 600 passengers, it has seating for 720. There are two vessels, the Commodore, they just took delivery of the Courageous, which was a 3-year build, made its way up from Louisiana to Highland Flats, New Jersey.
Well, we talked about what you
Yeah, so they're willing, they're always willing to try new things for C Street, and whether there's an opportunity to try to, they're signing a deal with manager for this operation for us, so we'll have some discussions with them about whether there's opportunities. I know from the vineyard side and the Nantucket side, if they're able to get some workers over to Bald Islands, and it'd be great, it'd be helpful.
We would have the local population from it could combine that.
Good. So ready for a vote then? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, we have a request for authorization to renew the authority's license agreement with Island Commuter Corp. They operate the MV Island Queen. So much like Highline, at one point, that Island Queen is a grandfathered service. But what they'd like to do is they'd like to be able to start their seasonal service early in the year to run an additional round trip. between Falmouth and Oak Bus on Mondays through Thursdays during its 2022 spring and fall schedules. We received their request in October to again license it. We've been doing theirs on a one-year basis, traditionally on a one-year basis each year. This is again just one additional round trip between Falmouth and Oak Bus on Mondays through Thursdays from May 27th to June 16th. And its fall schedule from September 12th through October 11th. The staff, again, we advertise this, we receive no public comment, but particularly in the fall, it allows the travelers, whether it's commuters or whether it's visitors alike, more opportunities to travel in the fall to and from the island, to and from Martha's Vineyard. That is a good option. So the recommendation is to authorize the general manager to execute a license agreement with Island Community Corp, providing the additional trips as submitted in the proposal, provided that Island Community Corp pays license fee equal to 50% of the authority's average revenue on the Mountain View Road, which was based on June 2021. It ends up being $5.96 per passenger on those trips. And further, for the authority members to authorize the general manager to take all necessary and appropriate actions to carry out its obligations under the license agreement.
Do I have a motion? Second? Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? It carries.
And the board, do we have a motion to accept? Motion, second? All in favor? Oh, I forgot to ask, any discussion? No discussion. All in favor? Any opposed? No.
Thank you for those. Next up, we have proposed renewal of lease with the town of Falmouth for the Woods Hole parking lot, the back lot. Staff is requesting the members authorize the general manager to amend the lease agreement dated October 27th, 2015, entered into between the town of Falmouth and the Steamship Authority concerning the Woods Hole back lot. Like 15, we entered into a 5-year agreement with the town. We got that lot 2016 and then again in 2020. Amendments were added to that agreement. One regarding the needed spaces that ended up being taken away because that's the location of the temporary terminal building. And again, last year, a 1-year extension. We had discussions with the town over the last few months regarding this. The town officials were looking for a 2-year extension of the lease, but they did. We're looking for an increase in the number of parking spaces that are designated for village permits. So, by way of information, we carved out a portion of that lot for the business association to sell permits for their workers. That way, they're not parking along the street. The hope is that we're able to, those employees not parking at the meeting spaces on this, opens up opportunities for not only the traffic but for visitors alike. They currently have 45 spaces. They're looking to see if they could extend that by able to offer more permits to the business association so that when you have up to 60. We didn't see the usage. I think the peak usage at any point in time this past year was 22 of those 45 spaces. And I think it's going to have a dramatic impact on our services, but I think we chalk it up to a COVID year that this we'll want to work with the town on this, that we allow it to go to 60 per year and then we reevaluate it after 1 year. So our recommendation is to authorize the general manager to execute the agreement to the lease dated October 27, 2015, and the town of Falmouth and the authority regarding the back lot. Increase the number of parking spaces designated as building permit spaces from the current number of 45 to 60. with the caveat that it's renewed a year from now with the town and the appropriate adjustments made at that point. It remains at 60 or goes back to 45.
All right, do I have a motion? All in favor? Or sorry, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bob.
Leave a motion from the board. Almost second.
Yep.
Any discussion or questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Just so that I understand, the spaces that are not used by the business association, who primarily use those?
A lot of cases, they just remain open. There's been a signage up and some pavement markings.
Who are the customers who are required to use the space?
It's the waiters, the wait staff, it's the,
That are not the Falmouth Business Association.
oh, we sell the permits for that one, yeah. Right.
So those permits generally are going to vineyard people who keep cars over there?
Correct. There are some communities that go back on a regular basis, back and forth on a regular basis, so, but it's been 15 years now. We've stopped selling new permits for that, other than there's been some occasions where someone's traveling on a regular basis, or they have some medical needs that we allow them to park here during that time period in the life. We've grandfathered the use of that. And time-wise, we shuttle bus going back to the back lot and then back to the gate and down the Fall Road. I think we've had permit holders at Conrad that we told them that if they like, they could go down there, or they decline because they realize that time-wise, it's not a time saver. It's more expensive.
The reason I asked is because I've heard from vineyard people who are concerned about giving up more spaces in that lawn. I support this and work to recognize the needs of the Falmouth business community.
Did the town make any requests that Steamship didn't want to go along with or approve of?
No, the only change to it was this increase. I said the discussion with them was just that we haven't seen that usage of those spaces,
Yeah.
but, on the basis that, whether it's a COVID issue or.
And some question came up last year, I think, about vines and brush encroaching, and we had some responsibility. Did that get resolved?
Yeah, we've some basics along there. My understanding is that the fencing along the little harbor there has been, the town actually took care of that. For the lot itself, every spring we have Lawrence Lynch go back there and do some patchwork in terms of any potholes and the like that develop. But I think in terms of any long-term paving or anything like that, we have to be in a position where it could be a long-term lease. We can't advertise it over 2 years.
All right, then, ready for a vote? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. So, back to the treasurer report, so unless anyone has any treasurer requests.
November at a glance, passengers compared to 2019 are up about 2.6%. Total vehicles under 20 feet, including pickup trucks and automobiles, are up about 10.6% compared to 2019. And trucks over 20 feet are up 15%. That's both hours. Both hours combined, I think. For more detail,
moving on to procurement then, staff is requesting the members authorize the general manager to award contract number 23-2021, dry dock and overhaul services for the MV Nantucket to the lowest eligible and responsible bidder, following the bid openings are originally scheduled for December 14th. The Nantucket is scheduled to enter shipyard availability from February 25th to March 29th. They go hull exam, rudder, propeller, shaft maintenance, coating maintenance of the underwater and superstructure, structural steel renewal in the hull and the main deck areas, bow thruster overhaul, bow and stern door overhauls, installation of the fire detection system, fuel purifier installation, as well as work on the anchor windlass. The 2022 operating budget estimate for this dry dock is $1,267,405. $200,000 of that is for the installation of the fire detection system, which is a capital item. We've sent at this point drawings to 11 shipyards. So the staff is recommending that the members vote to authorize the general manager to award the contract number 23-2021 dry dock and overhaul services for the MV Nantucket to the lowest eligible and responsible bidder following the bid opening, which is now scheduled for December 21st. So I'll point out this is a pre-authorization request. We try to stay away from this now as long as we have. The bid opening was scheduled for the 14th. But we ended up moving the board meeting up to today, the 13th. So that's why we're looking for it. And because of that, we couldn't move it earlier to accommodate the board meeting. There was some addendums that came out, so we felt it was appropriate to give another week's notice. It's time for shipyards to get the numbers in line and get them to us. So again, this is the. Don't anticipate this week, and the one that we asked for pre-authorization, but in this case, it's either pre-authorization or we're going to have a schedule another board meeting in order to vote on this, because as I said, the vote, that we'll have to award the contracts that way. The shipyard gets everything set up for the February delivery.
And you don't need port council for this, right?
That's correct. You approve.
Second? And do we have a range that we would anticipate this would, that the bids will come in within?
Yeah, we're hopeful that it'll be close to what our budget estimates are for these. Not aware of any sense that budget request was prepared, whether there's anything significant that has come up. Although I will point out that steel prices continue to rise. Supply chain issues have been an issue that remain an issue as well. So we'll to expedite some of that. I guess we classify this as a typical dry docking at this point. Yes, sir.
And all the work is required, we need to do it.
Right.
Ready for a vote? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
So the next item that was on the agenda, I'd like to withdraw. Change order for Catherine, or we're hopeful that we have completed negotiations over what that would be, but obviously had to present it. So the next item under procurement is requesting the board to authorize the general manager to execute contract number 03-2021, install and maintain and service automated telemachines to be awarded to Martha's Vineyard Savings Bank for the Woods Hole, Vineyard David, Oakloss, Nantucket, and Hyannis terminals. Back in October, the authority issued a bid to install the ATMs at our 5 terminals for a period of 5 years. 5 bid packages were issued. 2 bidders responded by the bid opening. Cape Cod 5 Cent Savings Bank bid $1,000 per year for the Hyannis terminal machine, 6,000 per year for the withdrawal machine. Did not place a proposal for the other three terminals, the Allen terminals. Rapids Region Savings Bank, meanwhile, submitted a bid for 7,000 for the Hyannis terminal, 20,000 for the Woods Hole terminal, 8,000 for Video Haven, 4,500 for Overplus, and 7,000 for the Nantucket terminal. So that's an annual number. So the proposal totals 46,500 a year. So seeking authorization to our board, general manager to award contract number 03-2021, install, maintain, and service automated televisions to Rapids Region Savings Bank for the Woods Hole, Video Haven, Overplus, and Nantucket terminals. With that, back to every question.
Do we need a port council vote?
Not necessarily.
All right, well, this, do we have a motion? Second? Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
What's the same bank that we have our line of credit with?
Yep.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
So, we go on here. Next, we have election officers for the Port Council. So, Terrence, you want to discuss this?
Morning.
Hey, take mine. Okay, so, I know we have some new members from the board council probably. I want to start off my remarks with saying that we're going to stay on there. Bittersweet, wish you guys the best of luck in the future of that. But the burden lies to the rest of you. So typically in the board council election, what we'd like to do is have alternate between the mainland and the island communities, chairmanship or any of the officers' positions. So since Ed is well, the other caveat is that the ex-chairman can't serve the four communities that's in that chairmanship. Then take it over. Sorry, and then the chairmanship can't use that same community, but since we don't have Ed's replacement appointed, so that person's out of consideration. And then finally, you can't have someone be.
And also Mr. Reese is not eligible for the chairmanship as well. Being combined with that and Fairhaven, four council members in that same.
And the other caveat is that you can't serve in the same position consecutively. Okay. So with all of those variables in play.
I don't believe that that's correct.
Why isn't Mr. Reed?
More than 2 years, excuse me, more than 2 years.
Huh?
You can't serve more than 2 consecutive years.
This is strictly for.
Oh.
Yes.
This is strictly for
I know.
council, so.
I'm
for
just
Port
making
Council,
sure that,
yes.
Yeah.
some of the stuff was recommended, some of it actually,
The rules.
out of the enabling.
So in regards to the Port Council, the caveat is that the Port Council member from the community in which the chair serves is not eligible to be the chair of the Port Council for that year. So in this case, Ms. Kinney will be chair next year for the board. So therefore, the Bedford member and the Fairhaven member are not eligible to serve as chair. The other 5 members would be eligible.
Actually, and also typically the alternate. So my point being is that look for having.
So feeling the heat over here.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
That means you'll be chair.
I don't think that they have the experience with me, so.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna make a motion. Can I make a motion, Terry, Terrence, sorry. I haven't seen you in like 2 years, so. I have to find these name tags. Can I make a motion
motion.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna make a motion for John Hale to be service chair for 2022. All those in favor, I guess I'll act as chair, is that what I'm doing? No, you're the chair. What am I talking about?
All right, any discussion?
On your own.
Any discussion?
Did I discuss?
I thought you were gonna-
I just want to say, are you sure you're leaving?
I am sure I'm leaving.
All right, okay, that's not my only question.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Congratulations. Dan.
Make a motion to appoint Rob Munier vice chair for 2022.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Congrats, Rob.
Secretary as well.
Yeah, that's sure.
May I make a motion that, that hole be our secretary? Pay back this stuff.
Any second? All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, Matt.
And,
Mark, you can hold on to the campaign button.
All right, I'll wait till my time runs up there.
Okay.
Next is, on the agenda is election of officers for the board 2022.
Much fewer variables here.
Yeah, a little bit more defined, yes. So, I'd like to thank Kate for years as chair.
I know, my first time.
And with that, I'd also like to, as pursuant to the enabling act, and active ballot member, Ms. Tierney is the Beth Never will be taking over the chairman's position, chairperson position next year. So congratulations, Laura, on that. Look forward to working with you on that.
All right. I'd like to announce that in accordance with the Authorities Enabling Act, the Authority's New Bedford board member, Maura Tierney, will automatically become the Authority's chair for the year 2022. Congratulations. The Enabling Act. Oh. The Enabling Act also requires us to elect one of us to be the authority's vice chair and another member to be secretary. Therefore, I will now entertain a motion to elect Nantucket board member Robert Randy to be the authority's vice chair for the upcoming year 2022. As the Enabling Act provides, the Nantucket board member will be the authority's chair in 2023.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? I will now entertain a motion to elect the Town of Barnstable board member Robert Jones to be the authority's secretary for the upcoming year 2022, as the Enabling Act provides that the Barnstable board member will be the authority's chair in 2024. Any motion, second?
Don't do me any favors.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations. All right, mission accomplished.
Madam Chair, on behalf of the entire board, I would like to congratulate you and thank you for your splendid leadership as chair for this past year. Unfortunately for us, review of your year at the helm of the board also marks the end of your tenure with us, and we're all very sad about that. And on behalf of the members and staff, we thank you for your service. As the year began, the Steamship Authority was still dealing with great financial and operational uncertainty as we rushed the COVID-19 pandemic. Fortunately, the predictions for the years have proved to be on point, and the steamship authority has regained its strong financial position. Thanks not only to our ridership, but to the awards of more than $8 million federal funding from the coronavirus response and supplemental appropriations act. First and foremost, the steamship authority continued to provide the daily lifeline services to the islands of Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket throughout this crisis under your strong leadership. While 2021 may be remembered for the development of COVID-19 vaccines, our relative stability was brief when we faced a ransomware event that affected our computer systems. Thanks to the steamship authority's well-established protocols and the fast and diligent work of our employees, we preserved. All existing customer reservations were honored. No scheduled trips were canceled, and investigators confirmed that no sensitive information, including customer data or payment information, was viewed or downloaded during this incident. Most importantly, at no time was the safety of our vessels affected. The authority continued to make progress with the reconstruction of our hotel ferry terminal. The final phase of the marine work is nearing completion, and design work continued for the new terminal, buildings, and utility buildings. The authority hosted 3 community sessions to update the public on the progress of building plans. Input received from those sessions has resulted in several improvements to the design. Once constructed, Cahoon Park, to be located at the northwestern corner of our property, will be an oasis for travelers and villagers. We took several steps to improve our customers' experience, including a vastly improved process for our internet general openings in January. We approved expansions and improvements to the preferred space program and reservation only days. A new parking permit option was created in Honeymoon, and a contract was approved for a new website and mobile application. The board made stride with the steamship authority's environmental initiatives, including approving the purchase of our first electric trans buses, which will serve both the Falmouth and Honeymoon terminals. The board also approved the lease of the Thomas B. Landers Road parking lot for the installation of solar canopy. We also endorsed the pursuit of lead, net zero energy, and net zero carbon certifications for our new Woods Hole terminal buildings. We also voted to approve contracts to provide necessary repairs to our vessels and facilities, including dry dock and Martha's Vineyard, for the Gayhead, the Martha's Vineyard, the Sanctity, the Island Home, and the Island. Our landscape work included repairs to the Highlands Terminal building and the pile wrappings at the docks and the building. Throughout it all, Kate, you invited us and offered our advice and support to Bob and his staff. You should be proud of your time at the helm of the board. Rob, Bob, Jim, and I were privileged to serve with you. We wish you fair winds and following season. We'll miss you a lot. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It's really been a pleasure to work with you and go over all this with you, for council and being able to call you.
Hey, you just gotta figure it out.
I know. Learning curve. Thanks, everyone.
So if I may, I reached out to Dylan Fernandez to see if he would like to jump on the Zoom and wish you well, but unfortunately he's traveling and was not available. But he did, he had this staff back in the office at this point, but I can just read this citation from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts House of Representatives. Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincere congratulations to Catherine Wilson in recognition of her dedicated service as the town of Falmouth representative to the steamship board since February 2019. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope of future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. Given this 13th day of December 2021 at the State House, Boston, Massachusetts, signed by the Speaker of the House, Ronald Mariano, and by State Senate Representative Joe Fernandez. The actual copy.
Thank you, Bob.
Not in the mail.
Right.
And I guess for the others.
The others. When's the last time we had a joint meeting, Bob? I'm trying to think.
It was right before COVID.
Yeah.
It was February 2020.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Last time we saw it.
Well, in person.
Yeah, in person.
That's right.
So if I may, in addition to that, we have another citation here from the House of Representatives. And be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincere congratulations to Edward C. Andrews Washburn in recognition of your work on behalf of the Port of New Bedford and 10 years of service on the Steamship Authority Port Council. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. Dated this 13th day, December 2021, the State House of Boston, Mass. Again by Speaker of the House, Ronald Marion, and by State Representative Tony DeGraw.
Thank you.
I think this means you're buying lunch.
We'll see if we can run this. Yeah.
All right. Last but not least here, we have yet another citation here from the House of Representatives. Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offices its sincere recognition of Eric W. Schufelt in recognition of his outstanding service to the Port Council of the Woods Hole Mountain Indian and Kentucky Steamship Authority. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope of future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. Given this 13th day, December 2021, at the State House, Boston, Mass. Again, signed by the Speaker of the House, Ronald Marion, as well as by State Representative Kip Diggs.
In our last meeting with the Port Council, I had mentioned that I was resigning. I just wanted to say written down. I'd like to thank the current and past council members, the authority members, for their insights, attention to details in the operation of the authority. Bob Davis and very professional senior staff and others in the SSA have been extremely helpful in understanding the interactions of the authority with the mainland and the island. In addition, I'd like to thank Mr. Bob Jones for his advice and ongoing friendship. He's a yes in my life. Hopefully, I've represented the town of Barnstable. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add a little bit to Eric. You know, most of you people don't know probably that Eric worked at, for me at the yard sales, which is right next to the Steamship Authority. But I don't know if you remember, Eric, but I think the first time we crossed paths, I was chairman of the Park and Recreation Commission, and you came to a commission meeting with all the lifeguards and stuff too, with your gripes and grievances. And I thought it was pretty ballsy at the time for the lifeguards to come before the board. But in any event, later on, Eric came and worked for me at the yard sales. He was my foreman, and he did an excellent job. know his wife, his family and things like that. But halfway through, he came into the office one day and said that, the curly shells and palm trees of the Caribbean were calling him, and he was going to go skin diving down in the Caribbean and leave the yacht sales. And I wished him well. But maybe 6 months, 8 months later, I get a call from the Caribbean and say, can I have my job back? And I said, you want to come back, you come ahead. So the only reason I tell this story, Eric, you still got time to think about this. Huh?
I do remember the recreation. The guard for the town for many, many years prior to me, and I worked for the town as a lifeguard, while we're kind of, it was springtime feel of history and also very good for all of us. All of you. It's very educational for me, and working on the water for, plus years now. Finish up some.
Ready to wind it up?
We have proposed meeting dates for the court council. To put out there. You'll note that the dates that we had. Tuesday, not a Wednesday. If the full council would be receptive to changing to meeting on Tuesdays instead of Wednesdays. Just the juggling that we've been doing here with the dates and this sort of scheduling for the staff and things like that. It would be similar if we were able to meet on the same day as same day of the week as the board. So whether there's any consideration for doing that, otherwise we'll propose the first Wednesday.
I don't know. I mean, it's different now, Bob, with Zoom. I mean, I just go home and, go on my apartment, on the computer, it's a lot easier coming over here. But, still would work if we were live. It'd still be fine, as long as you have my 10 o'clock Falmouth on plugged in. At that, in other words, the trigger point for the times has to change if and when whatever we do, even if we do both, you gotta think about how they traverse over and what time they can actually make it to Falmouth, Hyannis. That's the only catch. So 9 o'clock's fine until we're, whatever happens.
The only thing I would point out on those dates that we proposed was we have Tuesday, September 6th, which is the Tuesday following Labor Day. It's also a time where traditionally the treasurer is presenting the preliminary draft of the operating budget. So if there's some consideration of moving that one to the second Tuesday of the month, I think Mr. Rosen would be greatly appreciative of that. I'm still the chair, right?
That's
Correct.
As long as you like.
Do we have a motion? I won't go down with the ship. If you guys want me to really hold tight, I'll go down with the ship on Wednesdays. But if you guys are good with Tuesdays, we have a motion to approve the switch.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion includes moving the September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob, I'm assuming, Bob, that there isn't any other glitchy first Tuesday is like the first of a month. I've looked at the calendar board. So, you know, those kind of ones. are
July
more-
5th, July 5th is a Tuesday, so. Again, whatever.
Well, you can announce that during the year. Change it. Yeah.
Just a question for Bob. Are we gonna move forward towards the live? Do you anticipate that?
Yeah, at some point, I would anticipate that we will have to. Right now, the executive order extends through the end of March, if I'm correct. And we can continue to do these by Zoom. So, now whether the governor extends that or not, I think it will have to do with what transpires here in the next month or two, right?
Thank you.
And then, to the meeting packet, is the draft of the meeting schedule for the board members as well. These are typically the third Tuesday of each month. The schedule that's presented does include the rotation, but I think until which time the executive order transpires, I think we can continue to do this Zoom. But we laid out the schedule. Again, the only thing I see here is the September 20th, the core council is meeting until the 13th, whether it would be in consideration of moving that one to the 27th, I guess, but otherwise, I think
Whatever your wishes are, it's okay with
Do you
me.
want to vote on this? Do you want a motion?
We should.
Sure. Do we have a motion to accept the second? All in favor? Any opposed? Good plan.
Any possibility of it?
it's up to the two bodies and we'll try to accommodate as much as we can, but this is the first time in 20 months that people have actually gotten in the room together.
Right, and it's usually been done when it's sort of necessity requires, but we could plan in advance.
That would be interesting, Bob. You guys could look at that, like what works for staff, finance stuff. I mean, it can't just be any month. It has to be a month where it's not,
Maybe the September one.
you know, timing stuff. Might have to be in the middle of the month or something like that.
Right.
The only thing I request is, you know, once we set the schedule, we try to keep it.
Right.
Because I don't know how many times I change my calendar, which messes up other appointments that I have. So when we leave here, we should pretty much in agreement and hopefully we can stick to it. There's always things that come up. But, you know, if we can leave here, set your calendar, then we know when it is.
Well, I was gonna ask the incoming chair what her opinions are.
Well, yes, I think what I'd like to see is one joint meeting on Nantucket and one joint meeting on Vineyard.
Laura,
Yeah.
it's so hard to get to the room. It's so time consuming. That was back in the day, in the 90s, I used to kind of go over there, but now. You just better write it like us.
Maybe we can fly it.
Didn't I just hear about an inter-island shuttle?
Yeah, sometime to do, yes.
Jim has a guest cottage in the back.
Oh.
There's the helicopter service,
I
right?
hear there's a market best.
But I will,
How about we work with the respective chairs of each body to see when an appropriate time to join meetings.
okay.
She went to the chair.
Right now.
So I only have couple of items if I may have anticipated. I just wanted to point out, if I do this last month, we have a couple of months, so. Just wanted to point out a couple of our employees who have recently retired that have provided us number of years of service here. So with 25 years of service, we had Carlos Travaz, who was a bosun on board our vessel, first bosun on board our vessels. He retired early this fall. We had Brian McNamara, who was a pilot on board the ferries most of the time on the high speed. He retired early this a week ago, actually, and he had 32 years of service. On Friday, Sue Murray from the Hyannis Ticket Office, she retired. She first came to work for us when we acquired the Shamanchi service. And in our community for a while there, she was commuting to the Vineyard to work, and then for more recently to Hyannis to work. So she's retired. She retired after 21 years of service. So I think we're down to what, 3 people now from the Shamanchi, all of us from the Shamanchi service.
The good ones.
And then the only other thing I had to offer is
Blankets, Rob, you need a blanket.
so for the 3 for Kitty, Ed, and Eric, there's a chair, so don't leave without it. This is actually is a chair, and each one of them has the person's name, in the years that they served as members or as full council members.
Awesome. Rockers?
Yes, there's a rocker that is added to the wall.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you.
Oh, I have, on behalf of Town of Falmouth, I have a gift for you, Bob, as general manager. You're gonna pick it up. No, it's coming from a local artist, James A. Baker, and it's kind of, you'll have to show it.
Wow.
And if it's the
Nice.
wrong size, you will get the.
Thank you. I'm not going. That's it for me,
All right,
Madam
then.
Chair.
Anything else?
Do we have an executive
have any-
session?
Yeah, do we have any public comment or?
If anyone's got public comment, please. Rich?
Hi, good morning.
Morning, Rich.
Hey, good morning. If I may, I had a couple of questions to ask about that transfer bridge incident you spoke of earlier in the meeting.
Go ahead.
Well, specifically, referring to the night before the minivan incident, I was wondering if you folks could speak to what broke on the transfer bridge, what was done to fix it, and what type of inspection took place after that fix was done.
I pointed out earlier, that's a positioning cable, for positioning the bridge. Cable broke the night before. Maintenance was on its way out on, and matter of fact, they were on, just getting on the island and was subsequently replaced. If the bridge was never in any danger, they're not operating with one cable, which is, we use the vessel to position the bridge rather than the cable. So in that case, we deemed, the captain deemed it was safe to operate, and that's how we went through it.
Just so I understand clearly, the ferry was used to manipulate the bridge as opposed to the cable while one cable was down?
Yeah, they very actually, they positioned We positioned, the ferry was positioned by the hawsers. And once it was in position, they lowered the bridge down on the deck of the freight.
Okay, so when the minivan incident occurred, even though I know you said before that you don't, there's not a relation that you folks have found between the two incidents, was the bridge still broken when the minivan had its little incident there?
The bridge was never broken, just to clarify that.
Okay, sorry.
The bridge was in proper position as maneuvered by the vessel.
Okay. And do you know what happened to that cable, sir?
It was replaced.
I mean, why it broke?
The tension on the cable.
Was there some incident? Was it struck or something of that nature?
No, as I mentioned earlier, the containment came by in the wake of the containment put stress on the cable and it broke.
Okay, and the just to be clear, the cable broke shortly before the minivan had its incident, and that's what was caused by the Katama?
Night before.
Night before, okay, understood. So that, could you speak to then, I guess I'm a little unclear, could you speak to then or repeat what you believe happened to the minivan that caused it to be in that spot briefly?
My understanding is the minivan was transiting from the bridge onto a vessel. When the containment came by, its weight caused the wire to part. The bridge partially separated, approximately 1 foot as I understand it. And it was taut on the lines at the time.
So that, if I'm understanding you correctly, sir, and forgive me for asking again, the wash of the Katama was responsible for 2 incidents?
No, excuse me, let me clarify that. That was my understanding that the Katama was responsible for the morning incident for the bridge coming away.
Okay, the night before, was there also a cable incident or some
That's
damage?
when the cable broke the night before. I missaid that the Katama caused that. It's unknown what caused the parting of that cable.
Okay, and I appreciate it, sir. Last question. So the Katama ostensibly has, or other vessels have created wash thousands of times before with the Island Home in that slip. And is it the preliminary understanding that it just this one incident, the hawser wasn't taut enough and the boat floated away, but it hasn't happened before like that?
It's not uncommon for this to happen. It's happened in the past. Again, the cabling is only for positioning of the bridge. We have a preventive maintenance schedule, which we change out cables on the bridge. It's a normal wear and tear.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Anything else, Rich, or are you good?
No, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to entertain a motion. Oh, do we have a court counsel closing that you want to do first?
So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn and then, so we're also going into the executive session, right? So entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It carries.
All right. Well, I'd like to entertain a motion now to go into executive session to discuss and approve the minutes of the authorities meeting in executive session on November 16, 2021, and to discuss the authority's strategy with respect to collective bargaining matters, because a public discussion of these matters may have a detrimental effect on the authority's negotiating and bargaining positions. These matters include anticipated and ongoing negotiation with Teamsters Union Local 59, SEIU Local 888, and NEBA's District Number 1 PCV. Discussion with respect to a tentative collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters Union Local 59, governing the terms and conditions of employment for the authority's agency and terminal employees. And discussion with respect to a tentative collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters Union Local 59, governing the terms and conditions of employment for the authority's parking attendants and bus drivers. Public disclosure of any more information with respect to these matters would compromise the purposes for which the executive session is being called. After the conclusion of the executive session, we will reconvene in public. Again, may I have a motion? Second? And this is roll call vote.
Jones, I,
Carry on.
And Wilson, aye.
are we coming back?
So
We are reconvening in public.
we are reconvening in public.
All right. Resuming our public session. Are we on? Yes. I'd like to inform everyone that Steve Batty of All Media Productions is making a video and audio recording of today's meeting in public session for Martha's Vineyard Community Television, also known as MVTV. Also, Sean Driscoll, the Artist Communication Director, is making an audio recording of today's meeting in public session. Is there anyone else making an audio recording of today's meeting? If so, please identify yourself by pressing the raise your hand icon, or if you're joining by phone, pressing *9 on your keypad, and when you're recognized, please state your name for the record.
I'll just note for the record that Rich Salzberg from the NB Times has indicated his recording.
Great. Pursuant to section 20 of chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 and in line with social distancing guidelines followed during the COVID-19 pandemic, all members of the public are participating today remotely in today's meeting via the Zoom conferencing app as an adequate and alternative means of public access occurring in real time.
Chair,
Yes.
so I'd like to obtain ratification of a tentative new collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters Union Local number 59, governing the terms and conditions of employment for the authority's agency and terminal employees. The management recommends that the members vote to authorize the general manager and director of human resources to execute a tentative collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters Local 59, governing the terms and conditions of employment for the authority's agency and terminal employees. Following its ratification by the employees of the bargaining union in the form as described within the staff summary, and then just take all necessary and appropriate actions to implement and fulfill the authority's obligations under this new agreement.
Do we have a motion in support of this? Second? All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor? Any opposed? No. One last time. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, we'd like to extend. Have a nice time.